Hey friends, and welcome to the Gentleman's Journey. I'm so excited to come at you from Spokane, Washington. We're over here at Nicks Boots. We're gonna do a tour with Nathan. He's gonna take us through and show us how some of the boots are made, some of the little processes they use, and then I'm gonna get fitted. I really hope that you guys will stick around for that because I think it's gonna help you when you go to make that online order. You'll know just what to look for. So guys, let's get into it.
A pair of our veg tan, it's an officer boot.
Okay.
So yeah, a little bit newer. It was an experimental veg tan, but
oh, very good.
Yeah. This is about 2 years on them, and honestly, I've kind of neglected them on the weekends and don't really clean them that much in the office. So
okay, gotcha.
That's about where we are.
Very good.
Yeah. So we can kind of walk through the back here. So this is our main fitting room. So one of the advantages that we have here is we've got sizing from just about 4 to 14 and about widths from like 4A all the way up to a couple F.
Okay.
So that's going to be really narrow all the way to really wide. And so there's tons of options for sizing. You know, you can really get that dialed in compared to most mass-produced boots. Yeah, so you can, I mean, you can pan around, you can see some of the lasts here, and perfect. So we'll kind of start, we'll go start to finish, and then we'll run back up and show you fitting. So this is where all the leather comes in over there, and it'll start here. So all of the leather for our boots starts on a roll called a side. I'll kind of roll one out here. This is one that's been cut. And so this is the leather that's cut out. We use these hydraulic presses.
Okay. So
with some.
You're pressing it.
That's right. Yeah. And something called a clicker die. So these clicker dies, you can see they're the different shapes of the pieces of boots. Like this is going to be our heel counter. So you can see that will wrap down around there and eventually be sewn together. So once the boots are cut, I'm going to walk through, you can see some of the parts here. Once the boots are cut, they go to sewing. And you can see on some of them here, they're assembled piece by piece. And coming along, this is our stamping machine. So pretty self-explanatory there, puts our logo on them. We come over here, you see the tongue being put into the boot. And yeah, once the upper's all sewn up, this is where it comes for lasting. So lasting is essentially taking that sewn upper, wrapping it around the boot so that it actually, forms the shape, and this is where it actually takes the size of the foot as well. See a whole bunch of boots as they're lasting and kind of stretching and forming, and a little bit of the process here. So if there's abnormalities or certain things with the feet, we can actually add additional pieces of leather onto the last.
Okay.
Say 99% of people don't need that, but for those who do, it is something that we offer.
Would you consider that bespoke at that point?
It's kind of a blurry line to a lot of folks. A lot of people think of bespoke as not using any electricity.
Oh,
Everything is done by hand. Here we use electricity because it's better for people, and you have a more consistent product. So yeah, I mean, we use
classification there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say that's necessarily what everyone classifies it as, but our boots are handmade. You can see people working on them by hand. So once the boots are lasted, they'll come over here to our shanking area, in which you can see once it's lasted how it's formed around. And when you look on the top down, the boot's formed on the shoe last. Hey. So with shanking, you can see our boots are made with a leather shank. And so a leather shank is going to be this piece right here. And this is going to give you the support in the middle of your foot to the back of your foot and keep that nice and rigid. You can see a shank in a boot. So that's what it looks like once it's in the boot. And once it's shanked, it comes over to bottoming. And you can see as the boots are being bottomed, it starts to put some of the layers on for the soling. So this right here, this is a midsole. And then, we'll just keep on going through. Once we get the midsole on, kind of coming over, and you can see they're prepping outsoles.
Okay.
So the outsoles, you know, what you actually walk on, what you step on, and yeah, so then those normally get applied. This is where some boots do some things, other boots go another direction. But then we start to get outsoles on here, and then you can get some video of this. This is our sole stitcher. So that stitch that goes around the outside of the welt there. Fantastic. Yep. So he's going to do 2 rows of that. You can see what it looks like beforehand here once it's kind of prepared for sewing. And yeah, all of our boots are done with what's called a stitch down construction method.
Okay.
So essentially it's stitching down all the layers together and then seals the water out.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more water resistant than like a hand sewn or a Goodyear welted construction.
Is there resin in between there of some sort?
You know,
it's the stitching the whole thing?
It's glue. Yeah, so it's going to be a 2-part contact adhesive, glue, and that actually does a lot of the work in the adhesion. And the stitching is kind of just like the lock that keeps it in place.
Okay.
Yeah. So once they're stitched, we kind of come over and the boots are heeled. So you can see it happening over here with Chris. So he's going to put the heel block there, and then he'll put the cap on.
So what's that
and
outsole
nail that
right
down.
there?
Yeah. So that's going to be our classic Vibram lug outsole.
That's a 100 or?
Yeah. It's the V100. Yeah. Yeah, normally people just know it by the lug, so you know your terms. Yeah, so we use a lot more of these V100s than most any other sole here. We still do a lot of work boots. We are doing a lot more heritage boots these days, but it's still our bread and butter.
That's an interesting upper there. That's really neat.
Yeah. So that's our new. It's one of our newer boots. It's called the Tanker Pro.
Okay.
Yep. So once the boots have the heels on, you can kind of see. You can see what they look like here. So this is actually a repair. So this one's a boot resole. So you can see brand new soles with a used upper. So then they're going to actually sand this block down to produce a shaped heel. And you can see over here on the sanding, you can get a couple shots of that. You're good.
So good. Incredible.
I know, isn't that neat? Yeah, it's all done right here.
Good.
All done in the US. So. Yep, so that's sanding. You can see he does a fine sand on that. Once they're sanded, they're gonna look something like this. You can see the edges of the leather are raw, you know? It doesn't have any color, there's no sealing on the edge. Then they're gonna go to like our finishing, polishing department here. So in our finishing department, you can see the edge dressings applied, and then this is where they get buffed as well to kind of produce that nice looking edge. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I mean that's boot making in what, 10-15 minutes. So I'll take you over here. Our boots are serviceable. So when the boots need a resole or further servicing, here we call it a rebuild. We can actually tear them down. So it looks like we don't have any over here right now, but yeah. So this is kind of our dirty area. You can see by the nails on the floor. We'll take the soles off and then kind of cut away broken parts of the boots and do rebuilds. We'll look at some of the finished products here as well. Here's a boot rebuild.
Dang it, man.
I know. So you can see the old upper and the brand new lowers here. Brand new sole. I mean, it's fresh out of the box. A lot of guys have them for a decade, 2 decades, depending on how well they take care of them. Oh, you can see some of the boots that are torn down for rebuilds over there. Yeah.
So how do you feel like in an office setting, walking around all day, and these guys?
You know, they're pretty comfortable. I'd say one of the biggest advantages is the insole starts to form to your foot.
Okay.
So our boots use an all leather insole. I'll show you in here. So pretty similar to this. This is actually a midsole, but this is the kind of leather in which we use for our boots.
Yeah, that's so good.
I know. For our heel counters, this keeps your heel in.
Okay.
A lot of boots, like, I assume this is a pair of Red Wings.
Yeah.
It's gonna have, no, you're fine. It's gonna have like a fiberboard or a cardboard heel counter.
Oh, I see.
So our boots have these solid leather heel counters, which are pretty stiff, and if you're working in the boots, really hold your heels in a lot better.
And with your fitting options, you can narrow it down to like a science.
Yeah, and it can accommodate a lot. Here you can see this is one of those all leather insoles. You can kind of see the impression of the person's foot on there, where their big toe would have been, and where their heel, and it kind of forms around. So
what kind of boots are you looking for?
So I had my eye on this one, and I came in the store really thinking about this profile with the huge lug.
Yeah.
It's really attractive to me with
Absolutely.
being able to do anything, go anywhere type of vibe.
Yeah, the Urban Logger is kind of our all-around boot. It's good for general purpose wear, casual wear, hiking, working. It's kind of based off of our taller Builder Pros Hot Shot styles.
Okay.
A little bit shorter top, a little bit thinner leather, so break-in's a little bit nicer.
Gotcha.
And then a little bit nicer looking leather as well, so you can dress it up. And the Urban Logger comes in both arch profiles that we offer. We've got 3 different lasts, 2 different arch profiles.
Gotcha.
So there's the 67 last, the 55 last, and the H&W last. The 67 last and the 55 last both have the same arch profile. So they both have that taller arch support to them, just like this guy here. And they both have a little bit taller heel to them. With some exceptions, like a new boot we just came out with, the Prospector, is our attempt at doing that higher arch with a little bit lower heel profile.
Okay.
So it's kind of got this same, what we call dogger style or Cuban heel, but it's a shorter profile like this guy here. And then there's the H&W last, which is this one here. So typically is that shorter block heel. And you can see on the inside, it's kind of simulating like most other, Red Wings, Thursday boots, most a little bit more, mass-produced boots. It's got kind of the flat profile through them, rather than having that built-in arch support. And with that comes a little bit shorter heel.
And so what are people looking for with this style last rather than the huge arch support?
I think it's mostly just a matter of aesthetics and personal preference. So some people don't like that really tall heel. They want the shorter heel. They want more of a casual profile. And for some people, that arch support is just more than they like, more than they can deal with. They try on the arch support and it feels bothersome, digs into the bottom of their foot. So everyone's got different things that work for them based on their foot shape.
Gotcha. Is it career oriented at all?
It can be. A lot of, our roots are kind of in the logging industry, forestry, wildland. So a lot of those guys need that taller heel for the steep inclines so they can dig their foot in, and for side hills, things like that. And that arch support as well helps when you're on your feet all day.
Gotcha.
So, wildland firefighters, they're out there for like 12 to 14 hours a single day, cutting lines and stopping wildfires. So that arch support just really helps with general foot fatigue.
Yeah, I had a job where I needed that for ladders and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, you need the taller heel for ladders, and so there's some people, some jobs you can't have any heel at all, and that's where kind of like the wedge sole comes into place.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was looking at some of those options, and just completely flat across.
Yeah, so we try and have something for everybody really, but for casual use, it is just kind of personal preference, like what heel height do you like the most. Do you want that extra arch support, aesthetics, things like that. But the Urban Logger, you can get in this taller heel. You can also get it in a little bit shorter, on the H&W last with that same kind of woodsman style heel to it still.
Oh, I see.
But we can try some on, figure out your size.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's get into it.
Go from there.
Yep,
all right,
sounds good.
Sweet. I'll have you take a seat over here, and we'll get you going. All right. So what size do you normally wear?
So I guess in tennis shoes, I'm a 12, but I'm a 11 and a half works for me in most of my boots. I bought a set of Thursdays, and I'm like, no, I'm going to do 12. And then later I got another pair that were 11 and a half, and I was so happy with the 11 and a half.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to sizing, we've sold enough boots, fit enough people that we've got it down to a science really well. Years past, we used to take a whole bunch of tracings and measurements and take that and kind of compare to our last. We've got so much data compiled now on our systems that we can easily kind of determine where to go from based on what you normally wear.
Okay.
So like we know how our boots fit compared to Thursday and Red Wing and Whites and a whole bunch of other brands. So we can really easily kind of dial it in just from some simple information. So if you're wearing 11.5 in most boots, you're probably going to be about an 11. But we can kind of double check, see where you're lining up lengthwise, and check your width as well.
Okay.
And we've got some really good resources on our website for this kind of stuff as well.
Perfect. Yeah.
So we've got kind of a DIY sizing guide that kind of walks you through doing almost the exact same thing we're going to do for you here in store. And we've got our whole try-on process and everything else as well. But let's start with length. So I'll have you stay seated.
Okay.
Go ahead and set your foot on there for me. And so, yep, you're lining up right about an 11.
Okay.
So in our DIY sizing guide, we tell people to, it's basically a paper Brannock device, and we tell them to stand on it and then go down a half size.
I see.
Because when you stand up, your foot's going to splay forward. So if you stand up, you're probably going to be about 11.5. But we know our boots fit about a half size down from Brannock, so we just kind of avoid that completely and skip over that, and we know you're lining up right about an 11, so you're probably going to be 11 in our boots.
Okay.
So we'll try the other foot too to see if there's any kind of differences left and right.
And I feel like I wear really thin Hanes, cheap socks.
Gotcha. Yeah, so this foot's a little longer, but I don't think it's going to be enough to warrant like any kind of like different sizes or anything. Most people have, everybody really has slightly different left and right.
Okay.
You're not proportionate throughout your whole body. And so you're going to notice some difference, maybe even when you try the boot on, one might be a little more snug than the other, things like that. And typically, the way we look at it is our boots are 100% leather.
Yeah.
So as you wear that boot and break it in, the leather lining on the inside, the whole boot is going to kind of heat up and it's going to form to your foot over time.
Gotcha.
So we've got 200 plus sizes in the back ready to go.
That's so cool.
So we can get you really close to, probably some of the best fitting pair you've ever had. And then let the leather do the rest of the work from there.
Okay. Yeah,
so
yeah.
Here, go and lift your foot for me, and then we'll take some measurements here. About 10.5. Let's try the other foot. And a little bit narrower, which is pretty common. Your longer foot is, for whatever reason, typically a little bit narrower.
Oh, I see.
So you're lining it up pretty close to about an 11E. So we can grab some for you to try on and get you walking them and, go from
perfect.
there. Yeah. So I'll have you try this one on and start from here. So when it comes to kind of, our inventory, what we've got to try on in store, we mostly just carry the work boots and use those for fitting. Because we've just got those 3 lasts, it makes it really easy to figure out your size.
Oh, okay.
So if you get a pair of, the Urban Loggers, you can take that size and get pretty much anything else we offer, and it should fit and feel pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start you in the lower heel first.
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
I've got the higher heel also, just so you can kind of see the difference.
Right.
So this is just going to feel similar to kind of, your Red Wings, things like that.
So thinking about these guys ordering online, what's advice for that different last or arch support that you could give them?
I would say it really just kind of comes down to personal preference. If you've had orthotics before, like the little inserts you put in your boots to give you some arch support and you like that, then the higher arch might be a good option for you. It is something typically I recommend to someone, if they've never had boots like this with the higher arch, try that first. You can get some really cheap, like $35 orthotic insoles, put them in your boots, see if you like that. If you don't, then that our higher arch definitely isn't going to work for you, because our arches are a little bit higher still than most of those.
Okay.
But it really kind of comes down to personal preference. Typically, the heel height is kind of the biggest determining factor for most people.
Gotcha. Cool.
I'll have you kick your foot up here, and we'll get you laced up. All right, so you've got all this extra leather here. So we just kind of want to grab that and fold it over like so to a nice little trifold. Kind of doubles up the leather padding there, gives you some protection from the laces, keeps them from digging in. And one nice clean crease like that just means less, cracking and holes in the tongue later on down the road as the leather starts to dry out. We can replace that tongue, but it costs extra, so we try to avoid it. Just want to make sure everything's nice and snug. Pull that tight. All right, go ahead and stand up.
Wow,
How are they feeling?
that's incredible. I've been at Boots for quite a while now, and honestly, just right out the gate, I haven't felt this before. I just haven't. That's
Nice
really
and
good.
snug on your foot.
I think that's as close as I've been. In all honesty, that's as
Yep.
close as I've been.
Yeah, again, it's just a matter
That's
of having the
incredible.
sizes. We've got
Wow.
over a dozen different widths available. From I think we can go all the way down to like a size 3, though we don't have as many options that small. But we can go all the way down to like a size 3, all the way up to a 15. So basically, we can get you into a size that most companies don't even bother to make.
Yeah, no joke.
So we can get you as close to a perfect fit without having to do crazy custom work and charge you a whole bunch extra. We try and make it really easy and really low risk and not as scary, to buy $500 to $600 boots. But yeah, so that's.
I actually really like that profile, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It feels really good. It's kind of like the profile that you have on now.
This is the 55 last.
Okay.
So you've got the H&W last. The heel height looks about the same because you've got that lug heel on there.
But you have a little more arch then?
Yeah, so this has got a little bit taller arch to it. I personally really like the silhouette, the profile, that lower heel, but I'm also big on the arch support. So it's a kind of an internal struggle I always have.
I could imagine. I'm ready for a little bit more. Yeah, I could definitely handle a little bit more for sure.
Okay. Yeah, just go ahead and walk around in that for a second, and I'll go grab the higher arch.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so I think we got the size about right, just like the Brannick sizing and the chart was telling us, about 11E. We'll let you try the little bit higher arch to see if you like it. Yeah, this is the 55 last compared to the H&W, so you can see it's just got that taller heel to it, and you can kind of see there's that little bit more arch in there.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
So if you try those on, and we'll get you laced up.
Is there a color that sells more than others, you find?
It's a pretty mixed bag. I mean, black sells like crazy for work boots. Heritage boots, I think brown wax flesh is one of our more popular options.
Oh, okay.
But we've got a lot of good leather options, and it's honestly kind of tough to decide because I, at least personally, I feel like all of our options are really nice. Like at this point for me, it's a matter of like, which one don't I have yet?
Exactly. Yeah, well, that's pretty much where I'm at. I don't have a black boot, and just having these on, I'm digging it, man. I mean, like I told you, I came in for that waxed flesh over there, and I'd still probably get that because I just am loving how that looks, but it's really opening up my eyes to the fact that I need a set of black boots in my collection.
I personally, I'm really partial to the rough out.
Yeah.
So like I think a full rough out boot looks really nice. Like the black or the walnut are some really good options.
Yeah, that walnut roughed out is something that I'm really looking at as well.
Yeah, that's going to be like one of the most durable offerings we've got. It's that 7 to 8 ounce leather, which is about 1/8 of an inch thick.
Yeah.
Which is much thicker than the industry standard, and with
How
that,
good is that?
yeah, with that rough out leather too, it's going to be more abrasion and heat resistant as well.
Okay.
So it's going to hold up really well in all conditions. I've got a pair of pretty much the same boot, and I have beat the heck out of them. They're about 7 years old now. I just had them rebuilt about 6 months ago. So the lowers are all brand new. The uppers are, the 7-year-old uppers.
That's cool.
And I've worn them a bunch, hiking, backpacking, things like that. And give them a quick brush and some grease, and they look hardly worn.
How tall are they?
They're a 10-inch, just like this, yeah.
Yep. Also opening my eyes up to the fact that I might need a 10-inch. I feel like being stuck in the heritage lines, I feel like I'm so accustomed to that 6-inch, but just having this on really makes me think. Because we were hiking not too long ago and found like a rattlesnake and stuff like that. So I definitely end up in these travel adventure situations where I could totally see.
Absolutely.
Loving that.
It's going to be pretty tough for a snake to get through that 7 to 8 ounce leather.
Yeah, exactly. Heck
Go ahead
yeah.
and stand up, give those guys a whirl. So that's that higher arch support to it.
Yeah. No, and that's what I was feeling. Like, I think I would walk out the door with that higher arch support because it doesn't feel out of place at all. Yeah, you can feel it. I can definitely feel it. So, going back to it being basically about personality or whatever you're used to, like you're saying, if you regularly walk with that extra support, then you might want it, but...
Yeah. And generally, you know, I really like the arch support. I try not to sway anyone one way or the other because different things work for different people. But generally, you know, that arch support might feel a little strange at first. If it's not causing any serious discomfort, it should work out pretty well for you. Typically, you're going to kind of feel like you're standing on a ladder rung or something when the boot is new.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really good feel.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll let you walk in those for a sec.
And these ones, what last was this again?
That's the 55 last.
Okay. That's quite the profile, the side profile. Really can show you the difference. This is what I'm walking around in now. And that heel and that arch support are fantastic. Is D considered basically middle of the road?
Yeah, so D
I'm leaning
is
towards-
the standard width. That is what most shoes are made in. Yeah, E is a little bit wider than that.
Okay.
So you can see this is a chart that we have that shows a lot of the different widths we offer. We offer even more than this shows. But you can see the length and width, or the width is proportionate to the length. So at 11 E, you're at about 10.5 inches, which is pretty much exactly what you're measuring up to at the ball of your foot. This shows ball, instep, and heel, but really the ball measurement is what you need for the most part to determine the size.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a little bit wider than standard,
Uh-huh.
but it's kind of one of those in-between sizes that most companies don't offer. Most companies are going to offer like a B, a D, and a double E.
Okay.
So we've got those in-between ones
Yeah,
to kind
because
of dial
double
it in a
E
little
I
bit
think
more.
is closer to what I was wearing when I came in today.
Yeah, I think we got you in a good size. Uppers look good. Everything looks good. So I think 11E is it. Try and make it as easy as possible. So yeah, that's exactly what you're lining up to, the brand length measurement and the width chart. So people at home can use that DIY sizing guide and get pretty much the same results as if you came in store.
So good. Yeah, I feel really confident about that.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And for some people, if they want to try something on still, we also have our try-on boot process. So you can use that DIY sizing guide as a tool. It's not necessary. If you have a pretty good idea of what you normally wear in Red Wings, Whites, you know, any other brand, you can order a boot, select the try-on process, and then you go to our website, fill out a try-on request form, and we put you in line and we actually send a pair of boots for you to try on in your home.
Perfect.
So
Heck yeah.
you try it on, walk around 15, 20 minutes, kind of simulates the same exact experience.
Yeah.
And then we have you fill out a questionnaire, give us a call, and we talk with you over the phone about the fit. Yeah.
Dang it, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Customer service from a distance. That's
Yeah,
great.
exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, because we realize we're a small company. We don't have stores all over the country for people to walk in and try on our boots, and that online shopping experience can be kind of scary, especially when you're paying upwards of $500.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we try and cut down that risk factor as much as possible. Other really nice thing is, regardless of how you decide your size, we have a buy with confidence program.
Okay.
So if you just wing it, say, I'm 11D, build me an 11D. We'll build the boots for you, send it to you. And then we have a little paper inside the box that says try them on, wear them around for 15, 20 minutes. If they don't fit, call us. We'll talk with you, do that same fit consultation, and we'll take them back.
That's incredible.
And make you a new size. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Cool, so as I'm taking these off, just give me some pointers on care instructions. Is the roughed out leather the same process as you do for the smooth, or? talk us through some of that.
Yeah. So rough out versus smooth. I mean, as far as oiling the boot up, conditioning the leather, waterproofing it, it's going to be pretty much the same. The only difference is that because it's the roughed up leather, eventually it kind of will matte down. So if you want to keep that rough look to it, you can take like a bristle brush or a nylon brush, kind of scrub at it to get the hairs to pop up again.
Okay.
Otherwise, maintaining the boot is going to be the same. As far as like oiling, conditioning the leather, I typically recommend every 3 months or so. And you can use the Nicks grease or oil. There's some other really good products out there. I recommend anything that's, you know, beeswax based, just like the stuff we offer. So there's a lot of different boot care items you can get that work really well. But that's what we typically recommend. The grease and the oil that we offer, it's going to waterproof and condition the boots really well. The grease has more beeswax in it than the oil does, so it waterproofs even better than the oil does.
Right.
But they both kind of do the same thing.
Yeah, I saw the grease in a tub and then a little jar of the wax.
Yeah.
And so you use those together or one
or the other. So some people use them seasonally. They'll use the grease or the LP during the wintertime when they need more waterproofing.
Okay.
And they'll use the oil during the summertime when they need to soften that boot up and keep it from drying out.
Okay.
Another kind of determining factor can just be kind of ease of use. The oil is really, because it's a liquid, really easy to just kind of slap on real quick.
Yeah.
If you've got some time, you can do the grease instead.
Okay.
I typically just do grease all year round. I find it's a lot easier for me, and it makes much less of a mess.
Oh, that makes
I've
sense.
knocked over
Yeah.
bottles of oil too many times to where I just take the grease, put a little on my hand, and rub it in.
Okay.
That's just easier for me.
Cool. Hey man, well thank you so much
course.
for all of your time. We certainly appreciate it. I'm going to be putting my order in very soon.
Yeah.
But guys, you saw it firsthand. Super easy process. The build quality is unmatched. I'm here, boots on the ground. No pun intended. Pun intended. But guys, it's an awesome company. Make sure and check them out online. They're going to treat you really good. This is the Gentleman's Journey. We hope you like everything that we're putting out. Until the next video, guys, God bless you, and we'll see you then.